Hello, everybody. Today is October 8th, and I'm reading from Revelation chapter 3. I'm still in Mason, Ohio, holding revival meetings here, and we'll be leaving here in the next day or so. I'm continuing this today where we left off in the beginning of this description of these churches, which represents seasons of life in the church age, and warnings and cautions that are loaded here with tremendous application. He talks in this chapter to the church of Sardis, the church of Philadelphia, and the church of Laodicea. He begins as he talks about Sardis, and he says, listen, I know your works, and I know you have a name that you're alive, but you are dead. Now, that's a tragic thing for someone to say, hey, you have a name, you're alive, but you're dead. That is, sure, every indication is that, maybe even your reputation is that, yeah, you're the church, and you lots of good things are happening here. But the Lord is saying, no, I just want you to know, I know deep inside there is no life. And it becomes a stunning warning, because he says, be watchful and strengthen the things which remain. That is, it's not too late. You can still rouse yourself out of this nap that you're taking. And he says, therefore, if you will not watch, I will come upon you as a thief, and you will not know what hour I have come upon you. These reiterate the warnings of Jesus that he's coming at an hour that you do not expect it. Be sober. Don't be intoxicated with the things of the world. Be ready. Be prepared. Watch, because I'm coming like a thief. And he's warning this church because, you know what? When you have a lot of activity, but there's not a lot of life, it's easy for us to get into a rut, and we just go through a spiritual nap. And he says, listen, if you'll take note of that, be watchful. He overcomes. He's going to be clothed in white garments, and I will not blot your name out of the book of life. Then he talks about the church of Philadelphia, and he says, listen, I know your works. And he says, I've set before you an open door. You've kept my word. You've not denied my name. And you've persevered. You've kept my commands. I mean, these are wonderful affirmations coming from Jesus. And as a result, there's not a discipline correction here. He says, listen, I'm going to keep you from the hour of trial which shall come upon the whole world. Now, we believe this has reference to the tribulation and how God is going to snatch them out, and they will be protected from that. Now, he says this, I'm coming quickly. Hold fast to what you have, that no one takes your crown. That is a warning for all of us, the importance of standing firm and not caving, not giving it up. And he says, listen, he who overcomes, here's another promise, I will make him a pillar in the temple of God, and in the name of the city of my God, the New Jerusalem. And so this is the church of Philadelphia, and has been commended for their good works. And finally, its conclusion is here in the church of Laodicea. And he says here, listen, I know your works. And he says, you're neither hot or cold. And he says, you're lukewarm. And he said, because you're lukewarm, and neither hot nor cold, I'm about to spit you out of my mouth. I'm about to vomit. You're nauseating me because of the spiritual state that's going on in your life. And so as we look at that, I'm kind of drawn by the things that they are declaring. This is what they are saying. He said, listen, you say, because you say, verse 17, I am rich, I'm wealthy, I have need of nothing. That is a very sad state for any believer to be in, let alone a church. To come to the point of thinking, listen, look at all that I have and all that I've accomplished and all I've done. I don't need anything. Because when you come to the point that you don't need anything, you can exist without God. And you're no longer depending upon God. Your survival's not at stake with God. And here, Jesus is identifying the fact that you're wealthy. Yes, you're affluent, you're rich, but that has brought you to a point of no longer depending upon me, and the end result is you are lukewarm. And he says, in fact, this, you don't even realize the fact that you're wretched, you're miserable, you're poor, you're blind, you're naked. And he tells them what to do. Here's what his counsel, the counsel of heaven, is that they would buy gold refined in the fire, and that they may be rich, not in material things, but that their wealth would be a spiritual impartation. And so he says, therefore, be zealous and repent. Now, this is interesting because he tells them that there is a need here. As those whom I love, I rebuke and I will chasten. But you have time. You can repent. That is to acknowledge where you've fallen and correct it. It's about face forward march. You're going to change your direction and go a different way. And then the concluding statement of this passage we're very familiar with. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone will open that door, I will come in and I'll sup with him and he with me. And you know, while we apply that in a personal level, and we can, because Jesus is knocking on each and every one of our heart's doors, and he only enters in by invitation, if we will open up our life to him. But it is especially pertaining to a church, in which Jesus is saying, hey, listen, I'm knocking on your church, and if you will open the door, then I'm going to come into your church. And boy, we want a church where the rule of Christ is exercised. He concludes here by saying, he who overcome, I will grant to sit with me on my throne. Here are the descriptions of the 7 churches, and the number 7 is significant. You'll find the 7 churches, 7 seals, 7 trumpets. These are all through the book of Revelations and are interesting, and we don't have time here to get into it. Again, at the in a few weeks here, I'm going to be doing a more in-depth discussion, preaching on the book of Revelations. You won't want to miss that.